Welcome back, everybody, to the You Ask, We podcast, the show where you ask the questions, they answer them, and I'm just the guy in the middle. And this week, we have an awesome guest because he's an Orthodox Jewish writer, actor, and comedian. He's a director that's born and raised in Brooklyn, now in Los Angeles, trying to make his mark on the world. I want to give a warm welcome to Menachem Silverstein. Menachem, how's it going?
Thank you for having me. I'd just imagined there would be cheering, so just add a little cheering sound. Hope that works. I've been good. How are you?
Thank God. I can't complain. Just doing well. So,
I feel like you can complain as a Jew. It's all right. You don't have to, but I think Larry David taught us all Jews can complain.
Yeah, we can kvetch here and there. So, pretty much the way the show works is like people submit questions from all over Instagram, Twitter, etc. But the first question always comes from me, and that's, what's new with you? What's going on?
Going on is good. Busy, working, trying some new projects. Just finished a feature script that I'm taking out, and thank God, life's exciting.
Could you share anything about it, or is it confidential completely?
Kind of confidential. It's a horror, which usually I write comedy. So this is definitely like comedic elements to a horror, but it's, kind of this new project that I'm just trying, to take a little risk on and see if it works, and
that's awesome.
We'll find out.
I mean, it's like Jordan Peele always said, it's like comedy and horror kind of interlink with each other here and there. There's a lot of similar elements. So
100%, because
cool.
with comedy and horror, you're both playing with natural reactions from people. Mm-hmm. If you say something funny enough, the person will just laugh whether they want to or not. And if you put something scary enough, the person will be scared whether they like it or not. So it's kind of like working on those natural kind of animalistic tendencies and behaviors. It's fun. It's exciting. We'll see if my thing's scary enough, though. Maybe it'll just be funny.
God willing, it'll be good. So, let's get into some of these questions that people submitted.
I'm excited.
This first one comes from Ariella. How do you become a Laugh Factory comedian? Can anyone do it? Can anyone just go up, or is there an audition process? How does it work?
So you start off by sacrificing a goat to Satan, and Anybody could do it. Not the goat thing. Don't do the goat. Don't sacrifice. Don't hurt animals. We don't hurt animals on this podcast.
Don't do that.
No, bad idea. Don't show up to the Laugh Factory with a carcass of an animal. Usually what happens is with the Laugh Factory, there's an audition process. They're really great about that, where on Tuesdays they have an open mic. And if you do well in the open mic, they'll then invite you back to showcase. And then, kind of there are different stages that you could pass to eventually start getting booked. So you kind of, again, either go through the audition process or you get recommended and referred to by a bunch of comedians. So a lot of comedy clubs will have two things: either the kind of ground up approach where you can, kind of audition through their system, or if you get booked on enough TV shows or vouched for by enough comedians, they'll also give you a shot and a chance.
So how did it? I'm guessing you did the audition process, the ground up thing?
So yeah, definitely did a little bit of a mix of both, where I, kind of went and I auditioned. I was lucky enough that one of my best friends and writing partners is a comedian named Taran Van Gastri.
Oh, yeah.
And Taran definitely helped, vouch for me. So between all of those things, Taran, Jamie Masada, the owner of the Laugh Factory, gave me a chance, and it's been great.
That's awesome. It's what did you use for your first open mic? What was your material when you went in there to audition?
Is it bad that I don't remember all the jokes? There might have been a Jewish joke, maybe one.
Probably.
Maybe, I don't know, it could have been. It's just for me at the time, it was really, just what happens is for the auditions, they give you about 3 minutes. 3 minutes is 2 to max 3 jokes, sometimes 1 joke. And it's really about just figuring out what joke will work. And it's also, kind of playing to the crowd. So with comedy, again, it's about getting people to naturally react. So even if you have the funniest joke, if no one laughs, it doesn't feel so funny. So it's about not only being funny, but getting the room to laugh. So I was able to not go up first and kind of see what was working in the room and kind of tailor a little bit accordingly.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned playing with the crowd, because this next question comes from Michael. He wants to know what your thoughts on crowd work are, because it's taking over these days, every comedian clip.
Oh, 100%.
Is crowd work.
Matt Rife, the king of crowd work, just destroyed. I love Matt. We just did a show on Thursday together, which was fun. I think crowd work's amazing, because what happens is people don't realize that with comedy, you're have this really difficult position where if you're amazing at crowd work, you're fine because you just go up like Jeff Garland. He doesn't really prepare material. He just does crowd work. So every show feels fresh. But most comedians, what happens is they're supposed to have a set prepared, but make it sound natural, like they just thought of it and came up with it off the cuff. So it's this weird, difficult thing where it's like they want you to have jokes that are structured and tailored, but make it feel natural. So I feel like crowd work's a great way to do that, where even if you have jokes that are prepared, you can use the crowd to kind of make it feel fresh and natural. If you're making a joke about your name, you could be like, hey, what's your name? Oh, Philip? That's an amazing name. I wish my name was Philip. I'd be a great Philip. My name's Menachem Silverstein. Just,
I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because it's like, I feel like also like sometimes like, at least like, I guess we're probably more like amateur comedians. It's like they rely on crowd work to like kind of like move into their next material, but like they do it to a point where it's like they're banking on like the person in the crowd saying something specific.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I knew you were going to say that, and I have like 5 minutes on this bit. Like, it's...
Well, that's what happens where like good comedians will do one thing where they'll like, if you notice, they'll kind of go into the crowd slightly. Mm-hmm. So doing comedy is like walking on a tight wire without a net. And I think that like, you know, kind of again, the better comedians when it comes to like, well, not necessarily better comedians, but better comedians who are at crowd work will kind of like hang out there in that moment and like go out a little bit further than other comics. But let's say like with me, a lot of times what I'll do is if I go to the crowd and I ask a question, I have kind of a prepared response, whether they say yes or no. So if they like, I'll ask them kind of more of a yes or no question. If they say yes, I have an answer. If they say no, they have an answer. If they say a third thing, if it's funny enough, I'll just play into it. So I'm kind of giving myself as much cushion as possible within the like, I don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's great. I mean,
if that makes sense.
I think so. I mean, moving on from comedy for like a second, this question comes from David. He wants to know what is X Production Co. and what do you guys do? Like, I guess he's just not aware.
Amazing. I love. First, I'm sorry that I'm going through puberty while we're talking and my voice is cracking. These are deep cuts. I love this research. X Production Co. is my production company. So besides for doing comedy and writing, I kind of like produce my own commercials, short films, product videos, founders videos. So X Production Co. is the umbrella that I work under to do all of my production.
It's like, have you had any like big clients for that yet, or?
Oh yeah, we've. You're a sports fan. I've written TV ads and radio ads for the NFL. So we worked a little bit with the Ravens, worked a little bit with the Chargers. Yes, that was fun. I worked with Ridge Wallets. I worked with Target. I worked with Thursday Boots. Like a bunch of. Now I'm like going blank. I'm like, what other companies? Gourmia. Yeah, like a bunch of. Thank God, been able to work with a lot of cool companies.
So whoever asked that question, David, X Production Co., they're on the come up. So
hey.
This next question comes from Chris, moving back into comedy. He wants to know, what's your writing process like? How often do you make jokes about Judaism and your experience in it, and like how often do you make jokes about other stuff?
So I think the best comedy comes from real experience. Mm-hmm. So because of that, a lot of my stuff is Jewish, especially like when there's a big thing like 10/7, when there's something, you know, anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism is on the rise. Naturally, I will make more jokes about being Jewish and anti-Semitism as a whole, just because those are things that are relatable to me at the time. And that's what I want to share and I need to kind of, you know, discuss. But again, a lot of them are about like my family and marriage and things. Like this past week, I was writing this joke about plants dying, getting murdered, or killing themselves because every time I bring a plant home, it ends up dead. And the question is my wife killing them, or are they killing themselves by seeing her and being like, that lady's not going to water me, and just kill themselves? Again, in context, it's a better joke. Now you're in on the process of me writing. Yeah. But yeah, no. So again, to me, it's really like, sometimes I'll sit and write and be like, what am I feeling today? But a lot of times it just kind of like comes off the cuff where like I am like having an experience, and based on the experience that I'm having, I'll think of something funny or a funny twist, and then I'll take it and write it down, and then like over the next couple of days, like I will turn it into a joke. Like this plant one isn't a joke yet, but it will be a joke. You will see.
Yeah, and it's like, it's interesting how it's like we're like comedians, like they should be like taking like inspiration like from like real life and all that stuff in their writing, because like for a bit, like during undergrad, like I was in New York and like Washington Heights, YU, and they would occasionally have like an open mic night and things like that. So I would like try to like do it, and it's like I would write jokes about how the high school kids from like the high school nearby us would flood Dunkin' at 9 a.m. And I'm just trying to go to like my first class, and they're all ordering like ridiculous shit in the morning, and it's like for the YU open mic, it killed because it was so niche and like specific to like that crowd that it worked. But I feel like if I did it anywhere else, they would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, yeah, if you did in LA, it wouldn't work because nobody knows what Dunkin' Donuts is. Dunkin' Donuts is like Starbucks, just way better. Can I say that on the podcast, or are we sponsored by Starbucks?
That's better than Starbucks. I'll say that.
I think so. Well, at least like the plain coffee, like black coffee, not even a question. Like Dunkin' for sure. No, but that's also that's a really good point where like the difference between, let's say, like a professional comedian and someone who's funny is like it's easier to be funny around friends who know you. It's a lot harder to be funny for 10 minutes in front of strangers because, again, you don't have that automatic relatability of like, hey, I can make these inside jokes because nobody knows you. You have to kind of like make it feel like this fun inside joke, but at the same time, super relatable to everyone.
100%. Yeah. So this next question, it's coming from Pierce. This is more talking about like not like your process in comedy, but like your experiences with it. He wants to know who was the coolest person you met or worked with in regards to like writing or comedy or anything. You know,
It's a very good question. So when it comes to comedy, one of the coolest people I met was my kind of comedy mentor and friend, Taran Van Gosri. Just amazing to like, first time I saw him, so funny and hilarious. And then it's really cool that like now we get to work together and do stand up. But it was also really cool kind of, meeting legends. Like it's awesome hanging out with Matt Rife. It was really cool. Russell Peters, meeting Bill Burr, meeting Mark Norman. Like, thank God I've been able to like meet, and I'm sorry if I didn't shout out your name. Whoever is listening to this, love all the comedians. Well, 99% of them. I won't say who I don't like. And I won't say what it rhymes with. But yeah, no, I'm saying in comedy, it's been really, really, I've been lucky to meet some cool people. And then the same thing with like writing. I've been able to work with like really cool people. Jeff Lieber, who's the creator of Lost. We were working on a show together for a little bit. Greg Wiseman, who created Gargoyles. I'm getting to like work with him on something now. Mark Blutman, who created Boy Meets World, or who's one of the showrunners of Boy Meets World. And the list kind of like, I've been lucky enough that the list goes on and on. And again, if I didn't shout out your name, I'm so sorry. I'm on the spot. But yeah, no, so many really, really amazing people who've also just like been so gracious with their time and willing to, help somebody new coming up.
That's awesome. I mean, it's like I feel like comedy as a whole, it's like as an industry, it's not like too cutthroat. Like people kind of.
I'm saying I feel like
maybe totally wrong here too.
In entertainment as a whole, things are very cutthroat. When it comes to comedy, part of the reason people can get cutthroat is because, especially in LA, there's like limited stage time, limited stages, and there's a lot of famous people because people are out here like filming TV shows and having talk shows and whatever it is. So you're like, again, you can get bumped off your stage time by Sarah Silverman or Bill Burr or somebody huge, which again, they're not doing it maliciously, but it's just when you're in a place, like no one's bumping you in Wyoming because there's no famous person there to bump you, but in LA it could happen. So I feel like people do get a little bit like jealous and nervous if like somebody takes their stage time, but I've been really lucky enough to surround myself with people who, like don't care about that and want to be able to help other people. Like somebody once told me, which I thought is a great analogy, when you lay back and look up at the sky, do you want to see one star or a sky full of stars? You want to see a sky full of stars. There's a place for everyone in this world, and you don't need to like knock someone down to build yourself up. Yeah. And I think finding those people, especially in a place like Hollywood and surrounding yourself with them, is amazing. Like I have a friend, Jeff Wilbush, that he was one of the stars of Unorthodox. He had his own show, The Calling, Oslo, a bunch of stuff. So with him, he got this show on Peacock called The Calling, and the first thing that he did was emailed casting and said, hey, can you keep Menachem in mind for a part? And he got me a part in a show, which was pretty amazing.
I mean, it's like, it's good to have like real people like in LA, especially like when you have that like good circle, like it's a rare thing. So
100%.
It's always great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we got some anonymous questions here. This first one, what was the worst crowd you ever had?
Okay, that's funny. I know that right away. The worst crowd by far, I did a singles event for over 50s. So everyone in the audience was over 50 and single. And I got up and I'm making jokes. And I feel like they're all kind of uncomfortable and trying to impress the other person. So anytime I said a joke, everyone would just turn to the other person to see if they were laughing, to see if they could laugh, and no one laughed. And I went from like joke subject to, I was like, Judaism, marriage, kids, life, traffic. Like I tried everything and nothing would get these people to laugh. And I kind of at the end wanted to just yell out and be like, this is why you're all single. This is why you're all single. But I didn't. But they were definitely the worst crowd. I couldn't break through. Like I got giggles, but I couldn't get the laugh because everyone was just like weird and uncomfortable.
It's like, have you ever had any hecklers that were just like too much? Like I feel like everyone has like a heckler that was like okay, but it's like, do you ever had anyone that was like too much?
100%, but I feel like, again, as long as you can just like play with it enough, they'll, kind of just calm down, hopefully. I've been to shows where hecklers, like, there was a show where a heckler was kind of heckling me and I got her to like kind of calm down and she was fine. But then 3 comedians later, she had to be pulled out because she just kept getting louder and worse and worse. So it also depends where you are in the show because people are encouraged to drink. There's like a 2-drink minimum or a 2-item minimum. So a lot of times somebody who starts off as just like playfully shouting out becomes too much. Yeah. So I've been lucky enough that I haven't had the person that was like too much and need to be dragged out. I had like the beginnings of intensity.
So like there's really just pros and cons in like every area of the night.
Oh, 100%. It's like, okay, if you go up too early, people didn't drink yet, people are just sitting down, they're getting in the mood. Like if you go up first, you really need to get the crowd in the mood to laugh. Then the middle spots, it could be that they're waiting for the bigger comic. If Matt Rife is on the show, they're waiting for Matt Rife. They don't want to see you do comedy, so you have to keep them engaged until they see the person they want to. After they see the person they want to, you have to keep them engaged because they just saw who they wanted to and they kind of want to leave. Or again, like even if you're the big person who's like all the way at the end, even if people were waiting to see you, they're all tired now. They just saw an hour of comedy. You have to then like kind of reinvigorate them. So it's every spot has its challenge. Lately, what I've been doing, at least the Laugh Factory, is going first, which I love because it's a really challenging position and it just makes you stronger as a comic. Like if you're able to master that, getting everyone in the crowd and everyone on your side, then when you go in the middle, it's like piece of cake.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this next anonymous question, do you believe there are limits to what can be joked about?
100%. I think that you need to be respectful. And I think that's kind of like the most important thing where people are like, oh, it's comedy, I should be able to joke about anything. And it's like, no, like you shouldn't cross the line of being disrespectful to someone else. I feel like, again, like as long as you're being respectful and playful, you should be able to kind of like open up to joking about things. Like, I'm Jewish. I feel like other people, as long as they're respectful, like they should be able to joke about, bumping into a Jew or what Judaism is, because if you live in New York, you live in LA and you aren't Jewish, but you deal with Jews all the time or you see Jews all the time, if you have a unique experience, you should be able to joke about it. I was born like in Brooklyn, there should be things that I can joke about that, like, again, basically I think that as long as you're being respectful, you should be able to share from your experience. And the second you get disrespectful, even if you are a Jew, if you're just being nasty and disrespectful, you shouldn't be able to joke about Jewish things.
Yeah. I feel like comedy, like as a whole, like there's a cleverness to it in order to be good.
100%.
Like, cause it's like, you have to be clever to make people laugh. Like if you're just like saying stuff that's just like completely rude, it's like it's not really clever, you're just ranting.
100%. Well, it was like years ago, Larry David hosted SNL and he made some Holocaust jokes that people were upset about. And I don't think people were upset about the Holocaust jokes. They were upset that they weren't funny. Because that's also, again, if you want to go into like a topic, if you want to make a joke about slavery, like we're Jews, we should be able to make a joke about slavery. We were slaves in Egypt. If you're going to make a joke about slavery, it has to be really, really clever and funny. It can't just be like a joke. If I make a joke about like going to the park and stepping on dog poop, then like that's a simple low-hanging fruit. Like you don't have to put much effort. You see, you giggled because I said the word poop. You know what I mean? Like that's a low-hanging fruit. No one will be offended by that. You could just kind of say what you want. But the second you get into like, kind of like rough terrain, tough, scenarios, you have to be extra clever and extra funny.
100%. Yep, I 100% agree. And yeah, this last anonymous question, they want to know, what was your proudest moment doing comedy?
My proudest moment was probably the first time I performed at the Laugh Factory, like properly, like on a real show, which was one of Tehran's shows. It was just this really kind of like magical moment where as a kid, I always, saw clips in the Laugh Factory. I always dreamed of getting to do it and like actually having people in the audience to see me and getting up and, doing my time. It was just a really, really special, magical moment. Like, I was able to achieve, my dreams, which was really cool.
That's awesome. And, based on that positivity, the way the show works is the first question always comes from me, and the last question also always comes from me. And that's, if you had to give the people one piece of advice to the people watching at home, what would you say?
One piece of advice, I would say put your underwear on before your pants. Oh wait, is that not? I'm kidding. First off, it's actually good. It's actually a good, and we'll sign up with that. It's actually better advice than you think it is because, again, it's joking advice, but it is like, don't jump ahead, don't run ahead of yourself. No, I'm saying within the vein of that, that's kind of the advice where I think that like anything is achievable as long as you actually work towards it. It's not about skipping steps. It's not about like running ahead. It's not about, just trying to get what you want right away. Sometimes the best things in life are the things that take slow. And if you really want to do it, then it's worth the wait. It's worth the time. And, again, like it, I think it was Jeff Ross that said, he was like, it took me 11 years to become an overnight success. People don't see all the hard work. They just see like, wow, you're so successful. And people think that it's super easy to achieve. And like, yes, through TikTok or apps, like people can get fame right away. But if you really want to achieve something that is worth having, is worth, waiting for and earning.
Take it one step at a time, ladies and gentlemen. Menachem, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys like this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys want to see what's going on with the show, who's coming on next, stuff like that, all my socials are going to be down below as well. If you guys want to see what Menachem's got going on, I'm going to add his links down below as well. And with that, this has been the USB Podcast. My name is Ed in Toronto, and I'll see you guys next week.
Europe.